because we can't see that cognitive workflow. It's very easy to get lost in these quite loaded judgments. And so I think it's not just the problem of slop which causes relational damage, it's the perception there is a problem. And so I think there clearly is a thing called AI slop that we need to talk about, but we also need to talk carefully about what we mean when we use that term and how it circulates, because as it becomes a kind of ready-to-hand term that people can draw on to make sense of events, I think it can link together low quality contributions and outputs in a new way. But those low quality contributions and outputs obviously already existed. The world was full of bad, thoughtless, rushed work to begin with. This isn't creating that, it might be amplifying it.
Now it's just become extremely cheap to do that. So that already has, I feel, become hate speech and all that is a problem. But I think that now the silent problem is more the sheer amount of noise. And the problem of, for instance, now it's not so much about making sure that people don't trust the wrong things, but making sure that people trust at all. So I think that's actually quite like a shift in the problem.
While technology has always pushed civic engagement to its boundaries, it has also yielded a lot of wonderful innovation that has brought us closer together as people, right? Today, it's AI that we're talking about, and on other days, it's, let's say, the Gutenberg's printing press, right, which moved us from aristocracy to democracy. It was a technological intervention. Everybody was very suspicious about it, but it worked. And it brought us something better. So I do want to paint that picture that it is something that has the potential to also bring us together and to close those gaps.
AI detection tools, because they're definitely less effective in the global majority because of the lack of training data, for instance, in low resource languages, for instance. So, I mean, we've already seen that facial recognition technologies, for that matter, has a higher error rate, right, for those who are non-white. So AI detection, where right now we're trying to battle, in trying to differentiate what is true and what is not at a large scale. I think that is somewhere where we're failing the populations that are already vulnerable due to the lack of experience.
For the last 3-4 years, little bit of the snake oil, the Kool-Aid has been that the answer is to give people agency by giving them information, giving them tools, and that's going to lift their power, right? But that again does not substitute for strengthening their trust matrix, strengthening their societal, trust intermediaries. Once again, it's a easier solution because the techno bureaucracy that is easier to us is that no, we can empower directly like this. This is how we can do this. So I think that one, to Mark's point, I think it's very interesting. I'm curious to read the study on how Indians trust as a result of the situation.
Ultimately, it's not psychologically sustainable to persist in low trust, hyper individualized states. We're not built to, survive under those conditions. And individuals do fragment under those conditions. They rupture, they spiral, they begin to lose a sense of meaning or even coherence. But they also form into new forms of collectivity, and many of those are liable to be quite destructive forms. I went down a rabbit hole last year for various reasons, reading about the sociology and social psychology of cults. And I found this so fascinating because the mechanisms that drive people into cults are ones that I think are actually starting to become commonplace. People move into cults when they experience biographical ruptures. People move into cults when they experience biographical ruptures. There's not a psychological susceptibility to joining a cult. There's how you respond to rupture. So I think that's really scary if we think about the cult-like forms that are proliferating through social media.
Suppose you are a court, a court that deals with, say, property matters. Okay, very simple. You're a court that deals with property matters. Now you start noticing that because of AI, you start getting a whole lot more cases being filed because it's so easy to create a petition and file some infringement, something like you guys start getting, and then somebody asks you, so what system do you need to build to make that go away, that problem? So your automatic response is some screening system and some AI will do 90% of the work. Here's the problem: you still haven't changed your mindset. You must ask yourself, where are these matter cases coming from? You must ask yourself, where are those people, right? For instance, if you have panchayats or local government across the country, why not strengthen local government? Why not think the court? Why not let the court stop at the kind of this? I'm going to retain my model as the place people come to. Why can't the court reimagine itself as the place that goes to the sites? Right? So my problem is that we just lack imagination. We are not able to reframe our innovation challenge. And because we're not able to reframe our innovation challenge, there's a disconnect between the academic framing of something and where the investment money goes. The investment money keeps going to the same things because they're like, oh, I get your point, but I don't know where else to put this money.
Why don't we make systems that actually optimize for instance, consensus instead of, argument? And that, I don't know if you guys know, but there's already some social media such as poll.is, which is doing exactly that, right? To try to build policy based on consensus, you need to put in certain affordances and take out certain affordances. So you need to sort of put in like friction, so people don't flood the whole thing with their inane opinions. You need to take out comments so that people don't fight in the comment section instead of doing, productive deliberation. So definitely the technology should be thoughtfully designed.
There is a lot of trust that requires to be preserved in public institutions and in the way that we engage with government systems. Fundamentally, there is no easy answer to this to say X, Y, or Z. But I think one of the big things is actually the follow through. It's not so much in the process itself at the immediate time that you apply for an entitlement, a benefit, or comment on a draft law. It's actually the process of the follow through that builds a lot of trust. Let's say, for example, if somebody's applied for a ration card and not received it, the system to apply might be digitized, but they always know that they can go to their elected representative, and their elected representative will have the incentive to help them out with making sure that that process happens through. So it's layered, there is built-in accountability, and it's really more than anything about the follow through, not just the initial engagement.
I know there's an easy answer: ecosystem of innovation and how this is going to drive quality of ideas. And I can give you that answer. But at a very fundamental level, it's restoring our ability to be with each other. And we are doing that in one field, but I think that needs to be done in a very wide. I would say, doesn't matter what your day job is. Can your evening job be restoring trust? That's the way I think people should look at it.